Well, good morning and welcome to this morning's reflection. How are you this morning? I hope you're well. I know that I am delighted because the sun is out and there's just a hint of summer in the air. And for those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, I'm sorry that there's likely to be a hint of winter in the air. I was delighted, in fact, to have swum this morning, trying to convince myself that summer was indeed real. I shared my swim this morning with a delightful little grass frog, and I'm not sure that he thought that I was delightful. But we were both enjoying the warmer weather. And today we continue to look at Matthew chapter 2. And the wise men came from the east to Jerusalem, and they were asking where this new King of the Jews could be found. You can imagine to what extent King Herod welcomed that statement. It would have set off and triggered all his alarm bells and all his paranoia. But these wise men had seen his star, and they had come to worship him. The name that is often used to describe these men is Magi, and it's a difficult word to translate. But it is said that they were probably originally of the Median tribe, and the Medes were part of the Persian Empire. They had tried to overthrow the Persians, but their attempt had failed, which was probably a good thing because after that they gave up seeking power or prestige and they became priests. They became in Persia what the Levites were in Israel. They became teachers and instructors of kings. In Persia, no sacrifice could be offered unless the Magi were present. They became men of wisdom, and they were skilled in philosophy, in medicine, and in natural science. It was only in later years that this word Magi became associated with lower things such as fortune-telling, sorcery. They came to be seen as magicians or charlatans, an example of which would have been Simon Magus in Acts. But the best Magi were holy men who sought the truth. In those days, they believed in astrology, and they believed that one's destiny was settled by the star under which one was born. And of course, the stars remain on course, they are unchanging, and they represent the very ordered nature of the universe. And so in the midst of this ordered universe, a bright star appears. And so for them, it indicated that there was something special going on. It looked as if God was breaking his order, as if he was announcing something very special. And we don't know what the star was that they saw. Some have suggested that it was Halley's Comet, others a conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter. In those years, on the first day of the Egyptian month, Mesori, Sirius, the dog star, would rise at sunrise and would shine very brightly. Now, Mesori means the birthplace of a prince, and so would have meant to the Magi that a great king had been born. So we don't really know what they saw, but whatever it was, it spoke to them of the arrival of a king. Now it may seem strange to us that seeing a star in the sky would then lead people to go on a long journey in search of a king. But there was around this time an anticipation of the coming of a king. It wasn't just a Jewish anticipation, but there seemed to be the world over the sense that there was something new about to happen. And even the Roman historians knew about this. It was around this time that one of them wrote, "There had spread over all the Orient an old and established belief that it was fated at that time for men coming from Judea to rule the world." And another said there was a firm persuasion that at this very time the East was to grow powerful, and rulers coming from Judea were to acquire universal power. And Josephus said the Jews had the belief that about that time one from their country should become governor of the habitable earth. Almost at the same time that Jesus was born, we find Augustus, the Roman emperor, being hailed as the saviour of the world, and Virgil, the Roman poet, writing a poem which is known as the Messianic poem about the golden days to come. And so there's not the slightest need to think that this story of the Magi is a legend, just a lovely legend. It is exactly the kind of thing that could easily have happened in the ancient world. And so when Jesus comes into the world, there was an eagerness of expectation. Men were waiting for God, and the desire for God was in their hearts. And they had discovered that they could not build the golden age without God. It was to a waiting world that Jesus came. And when he came, the ends of the earth were gathered at his cradle. And it was the first sign and symbol of the world conquest of Christ. May your day today be filled with a deep sense of God's presence. And may you consider the things that we have spoken about this morning as you go through the day. And may you too have a sense of that expectancy, expecting God to break into your life today. And often that expectation comes to fruition as we see God touching our lives in simple and yet real ways. God bless you.